One simple plain text email helped me generate over $20,000 for a client, and it didn't have any photoshopped like images, didn't have any crazy promos or misleading messages. And I know this format could work for any product because I've been using it in my agency with over 20 clients, helping us generate millions of dollars in revenue for them. So stick around because today I will show you the $20,000 email, and by the end of this video you're also gonna get an exact template that you could use or your agency to generate hundreds of sales, and it's gonna take you like 10 or 15 minutes of work. One thing that helped me with this email angle was use something called the market reframing strategy. So first you need to understand your demographic on a deeper level. Secondly, you will need to use the art of storytelling more often. As Pluto said it, those who tell stories rule the world. Even the great Steve Jobs said it, that people don't buy products, they buy stories, meanings and beliefs. Maybe you didn't know this, but the promo that made the most money ever ran in the Wall Street Journal for almost 28 years, generated $2 billion in sale, and it was a story called A Tale of Two Young Men. But using stories in your email isn't as easy as it seems. I would say that around 18% of the emails that use stories, they don't perform as well as even the most basic AI stuff, because the writer can make the stories relatable to the ICP. You were probably at one point targeted yourself by a story on an ad or an email and it didn't relate with you at all, made you skip it entirely. So stick around because in the next moments I'll show you how you can come up with story ideas so good that your ICP can't ignore. Going back to why people can come up with good stories, I'm going to tell you the 3 most common reasons. So the first one would be that they make them way too detailed. So when you're making the stories too detailed, you're excluding a lot of people which aren't going to be able to relate with those stories. Secondly, they make them extremely boring. No one wants to read a boring story. And the third point would be that the writer makes it from the perspective of theirs instead of thinking about their ICP and looking it from their lenses when writing it. So I made this mistake myself before. I was writing some Hollywood-like story emails, took me like 30 minutes to write one, and then I tested it and it got crushed by like a templated 2-minute AI email. That's why I want to share with you right now the proper strategy that you need to be using so you don't make these mistakes, and also use this so you can generate, like I did, $20,000 in my example. For you it could be hundreds of thousands if not millions down the line if you use this correctly. So here's the email. Let's start with the subject line and then the preview text. With the subject line starting it as you see here. To give you some insights, was a jewelry client selling to young people wanting to buy jewelry for affordable prices. New York jewelry dealer reveals dark truths about the industry. So the subject line contains all the elements that make someone want to open an email for our ICP, and then also as you see it contains 3 very important things that you need to implement into your emails. So firstly, it has proof to the fact that New York is well known for being the hub of jewelry. I didn't know this, but I made the research and I learned about this, and this is why I used it. Secondly, after adding proof, I also use curiosity, which obviously is one of the strongest triggers you can use in your copy. Thirdly, I also added regarding the industry. For example, when people can put this common question thinking like, why should I care, what's in it for me, I tell you that it's about the industry, so it relates also to jewelry in general. So now you can probably understand why this works so well, and this is really what you want in an inbox full of generic promo emails that most of the brands are sending. Now moving to the preview text, exclusive secrets only for the Zodiac community. So this was the name of the brand. So here this reinforces exclusivity. This also adds the sense of you're being part of something private. Opening line, it's yo, it's Chris from Zodiac. Pretty straightforward. We always like to use short and personal first messages, especially on the plain text emails. I just got off a phone with a Morris P, a veteran dealer from 47th Street. So here we're teasing a story, not a product. So here we say that he's seen it all from $100,000 pieces to subtle flexes. Also 47th Street, this is the popular jewelry district in New York. So here I was painting Morris as someone with deep industry experience, making his opinion carry weight. So here you'll see how I introduced slightly the promo, but when I showed him our $19.99 his jaw dropped. So here again I subtly added the offer but not really pushed it that hard. So as I wrote here, let him do the selling. This $19.99 it's almost identical to pieces I've sold for thousands. So here I quoted him so it gives more proof since it's coming from his mouth, and also I make sure that I don't make it unrealistic, as I've said, since I'm saying that it's not the same as those very expensive ones. So here as you'll see I'm gonna add another element of that. So here I'm acknowledging reality, which is actually helping us build more trust with the reader. And here I wrote, we've got only limited stock, they won't last long. So here I'm also trying to add more urgency, more scarcity. And now coming into the CTA, are you gonna wait, save up for months, or grab our chain for $90.99 and start flexing today? So here I'm using a very common technique using direct response copywriting, where I'm giving the reader 2 options and making one of them seem way better than the second one, usually the one that also includes our product and the desired outcome, and then the second one which would turn out to be negative in their life and make it worse. So here, for example, like, are you gonna wait and save up for months, or grab our chain today and then already start flexing? So you can see. And then here I added more authority again in the PS section. This is coming straight from a guy who's handled millions in ICE. So now you've seen my best ever performing email for a client, but still this won't help you much if you don't understand how to utilize this market reframing strategy into your brand. So this is why in the next step I want to show you how to use the market reframing strategy for your ICP. And again, I know with confidence that this will work for you, because we've not only used this in the jewelry niche, we've used it for pet supplements, we use it for blankets, we use it for teeth whitening products, anything you can imagine. So here are the 3 things you need in order to make this strategy work. So firstly, the primary person in your email must be someone perceived as high value by your niche. So think like a Wall Street banker for an investment offer, or a vet for a pet supplement, or even like an orthodontist for a jawline gum. So secondly, you will need to come up with a realistic story, or put AI to do it, as I'm gonna show you, so your audience aren't gonna call bullshit on you. So if you come up with a fake story, they're instantly gonna notice and then skip your email. Thirdly, you will need to inject your product into the email almost like you weren't planning to, but the circumstances made you do it. Without following these 3 steps, the market reframing strategy won't work and you will have a bad performing email guaranteed. That's why I want to show you next a step-by-step tutorial on how you can get AI to create these templates and ideas for the storytelling emails. To begin with, you'll have to go either into Claude or Manus. So let's just use Claude for this example. You'll have to go into it and then paste all the info you have regarding your demographic. You can also use chat for this to do a summary of your ICP, but I would recommend to do it more manually, and then also use, let's say, chat GPT for further research, and then put everything you have inside Claude. Afterwards, you need to give it details regarding your product and brand. So this is something I like to use. I like to tell AI that it needs to think like a elite direct response copywriter that writes emails like an expert. I wanted to come up with 10 email ideas outside the box that have some reference and interest in my ICP. Here you need to let AI cook for you and make it generate ideas until it comes up with one that follow the 3 bullet points that I stated above in the market reframing strategy. After you find one that you like, you're gonna get AI to actually write the email for you. So here, this is the prompt I like to use. Create a plain text email, 150 to 300 words long, around that story. And here's the crucial part. You will need to tell Claude to not push your products directly and introduce it more softly, more like you wouldn't really care if it was there or not. So to summarize, you need to give Claude as much info as possible regarding your ICP. Secondly, you need to put Claude to work to generate ideas for you, and then don't stop until you find one which you think is gonna be a good fit, following the bullet points. And thirdly, you're gonna give the exact prompt for coming up with the email by itself. And here you must not forget to mention the email to be plain text, because if it's gonna be designed, those usually never work. Design emails are not as personal as a plain text one. But there's one more missing piece regarding the quality of the emails made by AI. So this is what I want to show you next, how you can tell if the email made by Claude is gonna be a banger or it needs to be revised. Also, if you like this template and want to get more like this, feel free to click the link in the description and sign up to my free newsletter. What I shared with you today is one small idea amongst dozens of the ones we're using for our 7 and 8 figure clients. To see if the email created by AI will perform or not to your newsletter, you will have to check if it's relatable enough. So this is why, as the last final step, you will have to review the email and do some edits on it to make sure that it sounds like it was created by a human. Because I truly believe that AI emails without that human touch miss that spice that actually makes them feel more realistic and that resonate more with the reader. Ben Settle said it is one of the best people in the direct response and copywriting game. I definitely recommend you following him. He said that AI creates good enough copy that sounds like everyone else. So this is why this last step is so important, because you're gonna be able to make your copy stand out so that the people aren't gonna skip on it, and then also even worse, maybe even mark it as spam because it sounds so fake and AI. And I'm sure you don't want to do that, because you're probably aware of what the consequences will be of your email landing in spam for the long term. Listening to your copy is better than reading it loud, in my opinion, because if you write so much copy, you're gonna get really bored and tired, and they're not even gonna pay attention when you're reading it out loud instead of just listening to it, which is more simple. There are tons of apps like 11 Labs, they can do that for you. However, just listening to your copy is not enough. You'll also have to think about the marketing reframing strategy and then see if those 3 bullet points are followed in the copy. So firstly, you must make sure that the AI used a person of high interest by your ICP. Secondly, you must make sure that the story sounds realistic and it's not fake. And thirdly, you must make sure that the product is introduced softly and not hard pushed into the copy. Right after you do that, you must also hunt for AI phrases. So what would you do? You might be wondering, picture this. Have you ever wondered? This is like generic copy made by AI, and people over the last few years, they got so many emails with these phrases exactly used. They now can spot them and know, okay, this is AI shit. I'm not gonna even read it because the person behind it didn't even spend like 10 minutes to write themselves. So after you find this, you need to replace them to make the email sound realistic. Now that you have this powerful template in your hands, I definitely recommend you to not overuse it, because you will see after the first or the second email that you're gonna send out using this approach, you're gonna make a lot of money. But the issue here is that people will start questioning whether the stories are real or not if you send them more often than let's say once per week at max. But yeah, the market reframing strategy is one of the many techniques we are using for our email clients in order to maximize their revenue. So if you're not happy with the way your emails look or perform, I'm gonna have a link in the description as well that will redirect you to my website, so you can book a call directly with me there. I can do a personal audit for you free of charge and show you what can be improved. Additionally, if you're interested about retention and how you can reduce your churn rate through emails, I'm going to give out an exclusive retention playbook to the first 90 people that subscribe to my newsletter using the link in the description. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one.